And I have the honor and privilege of introducing Mr. Lawrence Ford. I've known Lawrence for a little over a year, and I am very proud to call him friend and colleague and mentor. He's a powerful person. He is the founder and CEO of Conscious Capital Wealth Management. He is also the founder and chairman of Future Capital, which is in partnership with the United Nations. And he is doing wonderful work there. He's also a fellow of the World Academy of Art and Science. And he's also an author and recently published this wonderful book called Secret of the Seasons. He was dubbed the Shaman of Wall Street by the Washington Post, and the Economics magazine referred to Lawrence as the man of two worlds. NPR named him the finance guru, and the Retirement Income Journal dubbed him the spiritual advisor because he has both shaman training, shaman heart, as well as he works in the world of finance and money. So today, Lawrence is going to be sharing his inspiration and gift with us. The title of his talk is Using Capital as a Force for Good. And I am so grateful, Lawrence. Welcome to New Mexico. You have the floor.
Thank you, Genevieve, and hello, Believe in New Mexico Symposium. Hakeem, that was brilliant. My goodness, thank you so much. Absolutely gorgeous. And I'm reminded as I'm about to drone on for about 25 minutes about the economics of poetry. And I'm still working on that one, Hakeem. I'll get back to you when I've got it figured out. Someday, maybe I'll get down all the way down to a couple sentences, maybe a little haiku. But today I'm going to go on for about 25 minutes full of my passion. And before I start, I want to make sure that I thank the University of New Mexico for having me, the Anderson School of Management, of course, Wellington Spektic and Riley White, and the New Mexico Finance and Change Design team of Paul Zelzer, and of course, Genevieve Mitchell for putting on this critically important event today. As you will hear in my talk today, this work is not just my passion, but I believe capital is the key to shifting our world into a force for good, to help redirect our world into a kinder, safer, more joyful existence for all of us here, including our Mother Earth, Father Sky, and all that gives us the gift of being here. I am going to share now. Let's see how this goes down. I'm going to share a screen here. There we go. Everybody see my screen? Thumbs up. We good? Okay, awesome. So as you can see clearly by what's on the screen here, I am not your ordinary character. And I'm not shy about being who I am and my reason for being here. And it did not come easy. A little bit more about that later. The three ways I express my reason for being here in the work I do out in the world is first, my work in the capital markets with Conscious Capital Wealth Management, where we believe in investing in purpose in your time and maximizing your life, your reason for being here, and in your money, maximizing your returns based on your objectives and, yes, your values. Also, my work with global leadership with United Nations called Future Capital, which is absolutely an extraordinarily beautiful event. And I welcome all of you to come check us out and join us. And I'm sure maybe, Genevieve, you can direct everybody to that in the future. Finally, the third thing that I do is my work in personal and business transformation and the elevation of human consciousness with my coaching, consulting, and with speaking with people like you today who have great potential to help lift our world using the power of consciousness and capital. More on that later. As you may infer from this slide, I've been blessed with training and initiation from the shamanic traditions as part of my work in the realm of personal empowerment and consciousness work. One of the basic principles of the shamans in all parts of the world is the concept of dreaming our world into being. Athletes call it visioning, seeing something before it happens, like watching yourself run the perfect race before the gun goes off. So to that end, I welcome all of you for a moment to come dream with me about a future. And if I can get to the next slide, we'll be dreaming together. There we go. Perfect. So come with me on this journey as you take a couple deep breaths, settle yourself in. I know it's been a long, beautiful day with amazing speakers. Let's take a look at the future a little bit. Let's go into the future, August 30th, 2030. Imagine yourself picking up a copy of The Economist magazine and reading this. Who would have imagined that the greatest flow of capital towards world positive enterprise so far in history did not come through government, foundations, or venture funds, but from a mission-powered movement of a new breed of business, financial advisors and everyday people dedicated to living their purpose. One that helped lead a movement to redefine the most valuable form of capital into each person's individual gift, their purpose, their reason for being here. Imagine, really, just come with me for a moment and imagine, what would a world like that feel like? The drive to integrate purpose and capital is a megatrend. The planet's greatest untapped potential is the inner person, the inner purpose lying coiled in the heart of each and every member of humanity with its limitless possibility. It has the power to create worlds. That inner purpose is now being woken up on a grand scale. It's desperately looking for a way out, a way to actualize itself in epic fullness in the world. We can provide it with a powerful channel, an expression for it to do that, so that it can indeed create a new world. Without it, we will not have the leverage to make the changes we need in time to reverse the disparity of wealth, eliminate climate change, and the overall trajectory of our species. This is all of our work and opportunity. So my message today is that really positive things are happening in the capital markets to help us move into a purposeful, joyful existence. But it's not going to happen without each of us doing our part. All worthy, lasting revolutions begin and end with an individual. It is an incredibly challenging and exciting time to be alive. Positive things are happening in the capital markets, as I spoke of. Evidence for this megatrend are everywhere. For example, Larry Fink, the chairman of the world's biggest asset management company, made this vividly clear in his recent letter to CEOs. Fink explains that global problems are not likely to be addressed effectively by governments or nonprofits, and that businesses must take the lead. Despite some of Mr. Fink's challenges in deploying his capital for good through his mega enterprise, he was still so powerful putting CEOs on notice that if they want investment dollars to flow their way, they'd better get busy thinking about higher purpose for their enterprises and all of their stakeholders. On August 19th, 2019, 181 CEOs of America's largest corporations, the Business Roundtable, overturned a 22-year-old Milton Friedman doctrine that said the social responsibility of corporation is to increase profits. In its place, the CEOs of the Business Roundtable adopted a new statement on the purpose of a corporation, declaring that companies should serve not only their shareholders, but also deliver value to their customers, invest in employees, deal fairly with suppliers, and support the communities in which they all operate. All stakeholders, or as many are framing today, conscious capital, conscious capitalism, and stakeholder capital. So, why are Fink and the Business Roundtable and so many others urging us to rethink the purpose of business? Well, it's not just because they want to help save the world. Big surprise. But also it's because it's vividly clear to them that this must happen for them to stay in business. We have an economic system that is not benefiting a large percentage of our population. And any system where we are left out experience a rebellion, and that's exactly what's happening. It's exactly what's been happening now and for a long time. The separation of wealth is unsustainable. In the US, 1% of the families hold 40% of all wealth, and the bottom 90% hold less than 1/4. It's insane. 25% of families have less than 10,000 in wealth, and the vast majority of the population, and wait for this one, it's probably the saddest statistic I've heard, has less than $400 in savings. Capitalism is not the only problem. It has lifted billions from poverty. The question is, how do we improve the current system? Well, we look for leverage points. And the leverage points are consciousness and capital powered by technology. What do I mean by this? Simply put, consciousness can be expressed in many different ways, but very simply, it's the thoughts, it's the things inside us that are thoughts before they get manifested out into the world, into words or into the physical aspect of our being. Second is our capital. Capital, easily the most powerful external tool invented by man. These two have not been in the same room together, and it's about time it happens. Let's talk a little bit now about the opportunity of capital. We are witnessing the largest transfer of wealth in history and a colossal trend of money flowing to SRI, socially responsible investing, which you heard of earlier today, and ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance-focused investing, which, by the way, not for this speech, but for a recognition, are really just symptoms of good things happening, like Akeem was speaking about these organizations having a soul. These are expressions, these are symptoms of good behavior. The numbers tell the story, though, because the global ESG has driven assets to hit over $40 trillion. But the good news is we are just warming up. A study by Deloitte in 2015 said nearly 24 trillion of wealth would be transferred to the US over the following 15 years. And guess what, folks? A lot of you on the call today in this meeting, these millennials, you and Gen Zers, are not interested in remaining unconscious about where they work, where they spend and invest their time and resources. Good for you. You're demanding to work for and invest and purchase from companies that look at the triple bottom line, people, planet, as well as profit. So why am I telling you this? Because whether you're a small, medium-sized business, part of a corporation, or an individual, I am here to remind you that you have the power to change the trajectory of our species through the power of money, finance, and your actions, your consciousness. It is in this nexus of consciousness and capital where the leverage points lie in order for us to turn this ship around. There are 350 trillion assets and households control 70%. And that's not even keeping up with a printing machine that's going on these days. In the US, small to medium-sized businesses control 44% of all US economic activity. They create 2/3 of net new jobs and contributed 6 trillion in GDP, which, by the way, has grown over 25% in the last 15 years. So this is not a message for just public companies or corporations. This is a message to everybody. Okay, so at this point you may ask, why is this guy so excited about consciousness, purpose, and capital? Glad you asked. Let me tell you a couple stories about my journey that led me deeper into my reason for being here. A few years after graduating college, I made an important choice to become a financial advisor. I looked around and it became clear that money controlled most people's life, and I felt it should be the other way around. I got married, bought a house, and literally the postman backed up a truck into the driveway to deliver my financial exams and study material. And since it was far from my nature to work for a big Wall Street firm, I went out on my own. Just 5 years later, and by the way, after a lot of macaroni and cheese and somehow paying the rent and mortgage, I found myself high up in the Canadian mountains at a famous resort hotel where I stood backstage. I stood there by myself, and the other 9 honorees turned together and meandered over to where I was standing. The apparent leader looked close and came up really close to me, so close I could smell the whiskey on his breath. And he said, "Hey, kid, tell me, what's your secret? How'd you make it here so fast?" And I responded in my natural, authentic, undefended manner. And I said, "No secret. My team and I just love every single client." And they all walked away. All at once, without making a sound. And at that moment, I knew for certain that I was a zebra in a herd of horses. And even more importantly, part of a system that was fundamentally broken. A few years later, my business was sold and I followed my dreams and signs. And I completed a 3 years master's course in energy medicine and psychology and human potential and moved to a small Caribbean island where my family and I continued. And I did my consulting practice. I did turnarounds for large financial firms while I coached guests into their power and their reason for being here at the famous Rockefeller Resort. Following more signs and taking more risks eventually led me to the other side of the world to learn the ways of ancient wisdom and study with the shamans. After being sent back by a small, powerful shaman screaming at me for not being in my power, I followed his directive to honor my heritage. You see, I was adopted and I had never found my birth parents. That pilgrimage continued, and I did indeed find my birth mother, which sent me into a 3rd season of waking filled with deep lessons and healing. Upon my return from the islands, I knew beyond a doubt that my reason for being here was to work in the nexus of consciousness and capital, our species' 2 most powerful tools. I wrote my book, The Secrets of the Seasons, that Genevieve was speaking of earlier. I founded Future Capital in partnership with the United Nations and have committed my mission to transform consciousness and the financial industry through my work with Conscious Capital, the first fully sustainable whole wealth advisory firm built on love. So whether we're talking about a major corporation, a sovereign wealth fund, an investment advisory firm, a small or medium-sized business, a family office, a new business graduate, or as an individual, all of us are part of the wave of the rising global prosperity and are being called to live in our power, our reason for being. And with this wave comes a growing desire for greater meaning and purpose. You see, when individuals accumulate wealth and rise up high on Maslow's hierarchy, or up on the consciousness scale, as outlined by my friend Richard Barrett's work, they ask life's most pivotal questions. Is this all there is? How can I bring real meaning into my life? How can I connect with and then live fully my inner purpose out in the world? Many do this through a change or a shift in vocation, philanthropy, volunteering and service, activism, etc. While all these are wonderful actions and necessary to lift our world to where it needs to be, their cumulative impact pales in comparison to what is possible when capital is more clearly aligned with higher purpose in the first place. You see, a really beautiful thing happens when we come from a place of higher purpose. We recognize everyone and everything has value, including, of course, the beautiful planet of which we are guests. So even though we are seeing the natural flow of capital, there is still this mentality of a lot of, eat your vegetables mindset, like the shoulds, like feeling almost like being bribed by your mom to finish the broccoli in order to get an ice cream cone. But just as the doctrine of shareholder primacy has outlived its usefulness, so has the current paradigm of investment in capital. It is time that we all start operating in a higher state of consciousness, beyond tribalism, state awareness, and even wealth awareness, and into humanity awareness. From this place, we are innovating and together creating a space that is both evolutionary and differentiating. A human-centered design has always revolutionized most industries. Now it's time for the new breed of business, financial advisors, and their clients to not just go along, but to take the lead. And the good news is, instead of a boring, completely raw diet of raw kale and quinoa, you can enjoy an organic feast with dark chocolate and cake for dessert, and not gain weight, except perhaps in your personal life, portfolio, or increased earnings of your purpose-focused business. And we don't have to destroy the earth in the process. We can embrace a human-centered and purpose-focused approach, coming from a place of saying, I can earn, spend, and invest my wealth for both financial and purpose returns. Both serve my one North Star, to actualize what is inside of me, yearning to be made real in the world. And not because I should, but because I seek to, because it's my true calling, something I'm serving from inside of me. So let's bring it home to each of us here. And let's talk about what each of you can do to make a difference in your life. First is to be awake and be aware. Be conscious of where you spend, invest, and earn. Spend, invest, and earn. So let's talk first about spending for a moment. Think about the things that you consume in life. And think about how often you're truly conscious of their origins. And I think so much of life when we do this, turns into be this guilt exercise of like, oh gosh, I did that wrong, or oh my God, I bought that, or I did this. I like to think of the positive. So first of all, personally for me, I am a vegan who eats fish when I feel like it, cheese once in a while, and last time I looked, this was a dead cow around my waist. So it's not about being perfect. It's about being conscious. So here's what I'd like you to try out. Try this game. Just try it once. Trust me, because it's addictive. So I think you'll keep it up. When you go home tonight and eat, look at your plate of food. and play a game I call the where it came from game. Hakeem, this is, part of my weakness here. I'll come up with a better name, later. Maybe you can fill one in for me. But for now, we'll call it where it came from game. Look at your broccoli. Just pick one item on your plate and trace back a story. Make it up. I know you don't know, but trace back a story to where it came from. That seed that sat in the ground with the entelechy knowing its purpose in life was to become broccoli. And Father Sky, who rained upon the earth to give it life, and the farmer who tilled and worked and picked it for you. And for the truck driver who brought it to your store, and for your store that prepared it so nicely for you to be able to pick up and put in your car. And now, as you bring that food into your mouth, give gratitude to those 75 trillion or so cells dancing around in this perfectly orchestrated song that goes inside of your being, that has the wisdom to extract those nutrients and dispose of what you don't need. And then as you take in that energy, bless it with the ability and gratitude that it gives you the energy to be able to be here and live your purpose in the world. That's my where it came from game, soon to have a new name by Hakeem. Second is, where do you invest? So right now it's 5:10 on the East Coast. Do you know where your money is? Let me say that again. It's 5:10 on the East Coast. Do you know where your money is? If you don't, find out. Being unconscious about where your money is, whether it's at a bank or in investments, is no longer a pass. You can do good and do well with your investments. We call it conscious alpha. There are things that I could geek out a little bit with you on, but I won't on this call too much, but just stick with me for a minute. When you're doing stock analysis and you move beyond traditional stock analysis, you can look at those ooey gooey qualitative aspects of a company that matter so much, like how much people love that company, or what is the ratio of the highest to lowest paid in that company? How many women are on the board? Those are all signals to things that are much greater. And those things that we find inside of companies give us what we call potential conscious alpha, meaning we know those companies are going to perform better because we're looking at metrics that might be overseen by other places. And then there's, of course, all the negatives too. So what are the risks? What are the liabilities of that company based on their past bad behavior? Those are real things to take a look at. And thank goodness for data and technology today, because it helps undress a lot of these corporations. We get to see what we're really investing in. So as an investor, know what you're investing in. Demand to have your money working for things that align with your values. And then, where do you earn? Invest in your greatest capital wisely. Ask yourself the question, really ask yourself the question, is your soul aligned with your work? Is your doing aligned with your being? Each of us has this soul. Call it what you may. I'm just going to use the word soul for now. Please move past any dogmas or things that might bring up for you, but it's just the ability for me to speak from my language now. So just go with the flow here. Every soul has a pattern, like a snowflake, no two alike. And our job is to align that being with our doing in the world. When we do, we make good music. Like when we hear Hakeem do his poetry. Raise your hand if anybody here thinks Hakeem should be something other than a poet after you hear that poem. Absolutely not. That's what I'm talking about. Honor who you are, honor your own spirit in your work. Demand to do what what you are here to do in the world. We need you, because when you do, you have inner peace. And when you have inner peace, we have world peace. And what's better than that? I know these things, some of these things I make sound easy, but it can be hard. It's easy to fall into routines, into someone else's dream, and lose sight of living a full life. The shamans call it sleepwalking, a state of consciousness that appears to them as we are literally asleep. When they see us, it's like we go A to B to A to B to work to home, to work to home, put in an occasional C in the form of a vacation. Literally, none of us are here. Where are our thoughts? I'll tell you where my thought just was, is I'm almost up to 30 minutes, so I better hurry up. That's a future thought. Thinking about Hakim's great poem, a past thought. Bring yourself here. The shamans say, come back home. We need you. So none of this is going to happen unless we address the ultimate, the penultimate systems change. It's us, you and I, our species, our consciousness. When money and capital is in the hands of people who are sleepwalking, bad things happen. I know that's not a surprise to this group. But the power of capital in the hands of an awakened, purposeful consciousness has the ability to move mountains. And that's exactly the opportunity for all of us in this virtual room today. By the way, I wish I was out in New Mexico with you guys so we could all do big hugs at the end of this next time. So ask yourself this question. Why are you here? No, not that one. Why are you here? Remember I told you I was sent home by a small shaman telling me I was not in my power and to honor my heritage? And I did find my birth mother, as I told you, and he was sending me on a pilgrimage to wake up. Man, was I thrown into a third season of waking that I speak about in my book, The Secrets of the Seasons. The process is one of the hardest things I ever went through in my entire life. It broke me open, stripped me of everything, reduced me to that of an infant, as it helped me release the hidden early years of trauma I had neatly tucked away inside of me from being abandoned and abused as an infant. I came out of it awake and more alive than ever. So my wish for you is that if you feel something holding you back from being you, look at it with awakened eyes. As someone once said, lift the bandage. It's where the light enters. At Conscious Capital, we are creating a whole new category of 21st century financial services to replace today's personal investing industry, even SRI and ESG, into an antiquated 20th century bucket. With your help, we can meet the giant incoming swell with a bold and powerful proposition. We can build companies that support a culture, allow its employees to do what they love, and share in the success while making profit and being attuned to all stakeholders, not just shareholders, including the earth. Each of us is here for a reason, and there's nothing more important than living that reason. It's your greatest asset. It is the future capital. And your financial wealth can be an extension of and in service to your unique self and purpose. We need you. Be impeccable, as the shamans say. Dream your life into being. Be awake. Watch how you spend, earn, and invest your assets. Take the courage to work through your wounds and any challenge that you have faced in your life. These are the things that make you stronger. Anything that is holding you back from being all of you. And then use your greatest form of capital, you, and these tools called consciousness and capital to make your world, our world, a better place. Now, if we dream back to that cover Again, 10 years from now, we're here again. We look back at that Economist magazine. Here we are together, and each of you decided you wanted to be part of this movement. You took action to align your capital in all forms with purpose. And we are reading the story that said, we did it. Go do good. And thank you all for being here and for the work you do.
A deep thank you to you, Lawrence, for your work and your words. And just based on that, I'd like to invite everyone into a mindful moment of silence so that we can really integrate the day and Lawrence's inspiration. Again, Lawrence, thank you so much for being here with us in New Mexico. We are so grateful. Please note in the chat, I did put Lawrence's contact through Future Capital and Conscious Capital Wealth Management. And Lawrence, if you'd like to share your LinkedIn, then people might be able to contact you.
Sure.
And we have some thank yous we need to do in recognition of the time, I'd like to turn it back over to Paul Zelizer. Paul?
Boy, what a day, huh? Wow. Think back this morning and gathering and what's this all going to be about, and Vanessa's incredible sharing and the research part that the teams at UNM are doing and our panels. Oh my gosh, I don't know what the conversation was like in your panels, but oh, what rich conversations. You know, multiple panels, and then Hakeem just blew me out of the water. Hakeem, oh, high five. Just, oh, wow. And Lauren, so good to see you again. I'm so glad you could be here. In some ways, we wouldn't be here without you, at least in this particular iteration, literally. So thank you for inspiring this conversation about impact investing and social entrepreneurs really coming out of our silos. What a gorgeous day. And as all days, this one's coming to an end. So I want to say a couple thank yous. We've already thanked our sponsors. Again, big thank you to them, but a couple other folks. Some of you might not know, but if you go to the event page, you may have seen we literally have dozens of organizations, and we don't have time to mention them all, but they are media partners who helped us get the word out and put it in their newsletters and post it on social media. Some of you are right here on this call. Thank you so much. Also want to say special thank you to our back channel folks who are keeping the tech flowing. Alan and Madeline, thank you so much. We were pretty glitch free here, and thank you to these two fabulous humans who kept things moving. And there was all this like stuff that you didn't see, but messages about this and this, and should we go this way and that way? It just went so smoothly. Thank you. Big thank you to Financing Change, to Roberto and Genevieve and Dana and Andrea, who helped, kind of envision this and make what we heard about what was happening at the United Nations and start thinking about what does this mean for New Mexico? And that led to us getting introduced to UNM. And huge thank you to UNM for being willing to partner in this community way and stepping out of the silos that so many academic institutions are really like ivory tower, right? Think of an ivory tower and all that um, evokes, right? And this is like the antidote. UNM, our experience has been whatever an ivory tower is, this is I don't know what the image is. Hakeem, get busy on that one if you don't mind. What's the antidote to an ivory tower? Some like circle-based thing, community, eating chili together or something. I don't know. Whatever the antidote is, UNM has been that kind of a partner. And the marketing team for this event, Wellington, Andrea Garcia at the Startup Factory, and Dana Kohler, who is on one of the panels of UN17 and Cactus Brewery. So for now, I want to pass it on to Riley and Wellington, who have a couple logistics and where are we going to go next? Are we going to like shut this off and never talk to each other again? No, actually we are going to talk to each other again if you want to. And Riley and Wellington are going to tell us a little bit about what that looks like.
So cool. Thank you so much, Paul. And thank you again. One of the great joys is spending an entire day with people who are infinitely smarter and infinitely cooler than myself. And I have to say, this has been amazing. So from most recently, Lawrence Ford and Hakeem Bellamy. I had my whole family in here watching Hakeem Bellamy's presentation. They're all in the back. I'm like, don't show them there because they didn't pay. So yeah, they were good. They're yay. Anyway, so thank you so much. So going forward, we have a couple of things and I want to point out. And one is that in addition to staying in touch and providing resources, down the line, we do want to hear your feedback about this presentation. We want to make our presentations better. I'm going to put a link to a Google form in there, a little survey about things you like, things you didn't like, things we need. And we're also going to send out an email to you, so expect that shortly. And we are incredibly grateful on behalf of the University of New Mexico that you took your time today. You spent time with us, and I have students in the audience, I have community members, and you spent an effort to learn more and to bring together and to challenge ourselves in ways that we haven't been challenged before. So I want to say thank you so much, and put that link in there for you guys to see for the Google form, and then I pass it over to Wellington.
Thank you, Riley. I don't know what to say, actually. I mean, it's just blew my mind. It's way above my expectations. So as everybody said, there's a lot of people working on the background, and people are here at UNM. Our marketing folks, people that updated our website on a matter of minutes for the last 2 months. Almost a couple of days, I had an update for them. They still did that yesterday. We ended up having over 200 people that registered for this. So I know it's late, and they're not here, but that was the whole point of Anderson and our New Mexico for Good program is besides our research and our teaching, is to be a convener for change makers. This is exactly what we're doing here today. And just a big thank you, and just one more housekeeping item here. We will be sharing all the recordings. Of course, we're going to trim them and make them neat. And everybody that registered, of course, we got an email from us with the link to the resources, all the recordings. We're going to sort out the chats and organize that. So it will be available in our New Mexico for Good website. And so wait to hear from us. I'm open to any of our organizing team for some final words, but thank you. I'm thrilled, and I can't believe that we did this. It's just amazing. At one point here, I was like, wow, did we actually do this? So this is the beginning. We had one event in 2009. This is the second one. We're already planning the third, I believe, in New Mexico symposium. Do hear from us. Thank you.
So as Wellington just said, this is not the first time this group is gathered, and it won't be the last. This is the second Believe in New Mexico symposium, and a third is literally in discussion, right? So please fill out that form, what you liked, what you didn't like, topics you think that we should have covered that we didn't get to, or wanted more attention, or we went too deep here, or whatever it is. Your feedback is literally going to help craft the next event. There will be a next event, and we have your email. So, please watch for that. But we wanted to listen about what worked and what didn't work. So please, I know it's been a big gathering and there's a lot here, but if you could spend some time and share what was helpful for you and what would be helpful going forward, that'll help us know how to craft the next experience. So what I'd like to do is, again, just for one last minute, if you have pens in your hand or you're typing, if you could pause just for a moment. And if you could imagine with me that Lawrence mentioned it, right? How good would it have been to have this experience in a room together? Oh, it was my heart like singing together. How awesome was it that we did this on Zoom? And just take a moment and imagine being in a room together after having a community coming together, really rich and unique community. I love New Mexico. It's not like any place else on planet Earth. This is a remarkable place. And there's two reasons it's remarkable. One is the natural world that so many of us love. I'm a trail runner. But the second reason is the people. It's you, it's us, right? So just take a moment and let yourselves drink in what we've created together as if it was like the end of a big, rich, full day, like you just ate a meal that was really nurturing. And it's all in the room, and just drink it in a little bit before we head out. I wish we could do it in person, but at least we can do it together here on Zoom. Thank every single one of you who contributed in all the ways you have, that way too numerous. If we didn't mention it, it's not because we didn't notice, but there's just too many awesome humans who contributed to this. Thank you all. And please do let us know how we can continue to build on what happened here today. Thank you, and be well.